This episode of the Techology Show is brought to you by Wesley Seminary at Indiana Wesleyan University. Wesley Seminary offers a 75 credit hour Master of Divinity program available in both English and Spanish, a 36 credit hour Masters of Arts in Ministry, Leadership, or in Children, Youth, and Family Ministry, and a 36 credit hour Master of Practical Theology. For more information, visit Wesley Seminary online at seminary.indwes.edu. It's Tuesday, February 4th, 2013. 14. I don't know where I'm at or what's going on. Live from the Techology Show podcasting studio in rural Pickens, South Carolina, I'm Matthew T.G.
Seattle just scored again. I'm Heath Mulliken.
And I'm Tony Casey. Welcome to what we call the Techology Show, a weekly podcast featuring technology, theology, and everything in between. This is episode 234. So, yeah, the Super Bowl.
It was not so super.
No, not at all.
I've determined, I've had a couple of days to think about it, and I think I've determined this was the most dominating Super Bowl performance I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so every facet of the game.
So let me ask you the question that I asked earlier. So how can you say that in the light of like what San Francisco did to Denver a few years ago?
Well, San Francisco won 45-10 against Denver, but most of their dominance was Montana to Rice, long pass plays. It was dominance, but it was one-dimensional. Seattle, special teams, defense, every aspect of the game, they dominated, and it was.
I felt bad for Manning. It's everyone likes the guy. Would love to have seen him get another Super Bowl, but I like Russell Wilson. So.
Right. I knew, and I would love your take on this. I knew the game was over the first play. When they missed that snap and it goes in for a safety, I knew it was over. And Denver knew it was over first play of the second half when Harvin ran the kickoff back. And think about this. This is how dominant they were. Seattle would have won that game if their offense had never taken the field.
Oh.
I mean, between the safety and the kickoff return and defensive touchdown. So when you think, the game was over.
You and I had this conversation yesterday. I said to you that I felt like when Manning threw the interception, it was his 15-0.
Yeah.
And he throws the interception. And I say to myself, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Seattle's going to win this game. But I do agree with you when Percy Harvin runs it back for a touchdown to open up the third quarter.
Yeah.
I looked at one of our friends, Jonathan Fowler, and said, "Oh, this is a bummer because this game's over. We have a whole half to play yet, though." So, all right. Hey, listen, we had giveaways last week.
Right.
Lots of giveaways. So, Heath, tell us about our winners.
It was the greatest week in the history of giveaways. First of all, we're giving away a copy of Keith Drury's Soul Shaper and Gather. He was such a great guest, and we got a copy of both of those books to one lucky winner, and it's longtime listener, friend, and fan of the show, Priscilla Hammond. So Priscilla will be getting with you to see if you want the real book or the electric version of the book. And then also we're giving away a copy of Lois DeVerberg's book, Sitting at the Feet of the Rabbi Jesus, and that goes to Zach Burnham, creator of the Techology Show Amazon link that you can get in Google
So did
Chrome.
you just say that she could pick the traditional version or the electric version? Is that what you said?
Isn't that what it's
Priscilla, if you want the electric version, we've got it for you.
And if
it's
you
pretty shocking, I must say.
If you want me to read it to you, I will read it to you.
Sounds a little something like this.
So we want to thank again everybody that entered. We do our best to do these great giveaways, and when you enter, it promotes the show, and we're so grateful for all of our listeners that do that.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, a little bit of a tease here. In part of our show, there's a segment called They Said It, and we've got a couple of really good stories.
Yeah.
One is entitled Has Authenticity Trumped Holiness? This is by Brett McCracken, and so we hope you'll stay tuned for that. Also, another one over at juicy ecumenism. The title of it is Liberal Evangelicals Are Waging a War on Women and No One's Noticing. So we'll discuss those. Got some great quotes out of those articles.
And also talking about the death of actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. So stick around for that.
Hey, first we want to welcome our guest this week, Wayne MacBeth. Wayne MacBeth is the Executive Director of the Communication and Administration Division of the Wesleyan Church. Wayne has worked in higher education for 25 years with experience in a variety of roles, including Vice President for Enrollment and Marketing, Vice President for Student Life and Advancement, and Chief Operating Officer. He has served at Houghton College in New York, Global Partners in Indianapolis, and Kingsley College in Melbourne, Australia. He also served as executive pastor for Eastern Hills Wesleyan Church in Buffalo, New York, and served with World Hope International in development and church relations. Wayne and his wife Tammy have 5 children and 5 grandchildren. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here at the world-famous Technology Show.
That's what we wanted to hear. That's why you are on. First, huge thanks to you. Those that follow us know that Russell Moore was going to be our guest this week, and we got an email last week. He had to reschedule for April the 15th. So I shot out some emails to David Drury and who else did I? Dennis Jackson.
Yeah.
And both of them said, hey, we know a guy that you ought to talk to. And we wanted to try to find someone that could talk to us about the Philippines. And so thanks so much for stepping in this week and helping us out. All right. Do we still have you,
You
Wayne?
just keep going. Yeah, you got Wayne.
Okay.
I just had a program crash. We're still alive. You just keep doing the show, guys.
All right. Are we going to be able to do the video?
Yes.
All
Just
right.
keep doing the shows.
Well,
it's not going to be right away, but give me a second and I'll give you the heads up.
Okay. Well, listen, with that, again, a few technical difficulties here. Let's just go ahead and jump into our questions. I'm going to throw it over to Heath here.
Wayne, everybody knows about the massive typhoon that hit the Philippines, and we heard that you were going to the Philippines at the end of the month. So tell us, talk about when you're going to be leaving and what your reasons are for going over to the Philippines at this time.
Well, my wife Tammy and I will be going over. We'll meet with Dr. Pataxil, who is the General Superintendent for the Wesleyan Church in the Philippines. And he and his team have been giving great leadership to the relief efforts all over the islands and the several places where we have ministry. And the reason we're going, I actually invited Dr. Joanne Lyon to go, our general superintendent, and she couldn't go to encourage and follow up on, a visit there. She said, but you go. And so we're looking forward to that opportunity to visit in the Philippines and to meet some of the people who have been helped. It's a tremendous ministry. I like to think of it as the gospel in word and deed, because it's not only sharing with people the word of God, but it's also doing things in such a way that it meets their extraordinary needs at this kind of time when they're just so vulnerable. No homes, lost even family members. And so for the Wesleyan Church to take action there has been a real gift. So we're looking forward to seeing what the stage is and what we're continuing to do even at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that for many of us, we've kind of grown up, or at least in the last couple of decades, there was a movie that came out, it was entitled The Perfect Storm. But that phrase has actually been used by meteorologists to describe the typhoon that hit the Philippines as the perfect storm. And it looks like, a war-torn region when you see these flyovers, and it's a lot to take in. We've already had people talk to us about, work teams and wondering what's going on there. I'm wondering if you have any kind of a sense of that. I know at first, they just were trying to kind of assess the situation. What do you think? What are you hearing? Do you know anything about possible work teams and how that might be handled?
I've been working with Dr. Pataxil on follow-up, and what's happened, we already have had a medical team go over, and they've spent time, brought some pharmaceuticals that they could bring that weren't available before, and we're hopeful that we may have another medical team or two go as well. In fact, in the Philippines themselves, because we have 350 Wesleyan churches, there is a large contingent of professionals who are able to serve and are doing so.
Okay.
So there's been a Filipino team that's met and served in the area. And then on top of that, we're looking at adding more teams in the months to come. Dr. Pataxel has indicated that we'd like to stay long term and not just disappear after 30 days of ministry. You know, the first phase when you get into these kinds of things are helping with food and water and basic shelter for people who are desperate. But the ongoing phase has to do with repair and renovation and helping people to get back into a home that was destroyed, to build a new simple house for families, to help them perhaps with some sort of opportunity to regain employment or work opportunities. And that's where we're digging in. So when I asked Dr. Pataxel, what could we do in addition to our prayers, in addition to our financial support, he indicated that teams of up to 6 who have some skills with construction would be welcome, especially May, June, July, even August, during our summer months, to help put up some of these simple homes that can help restore meaningful life to lots of families who are still in tents or out in the open.
Hey, I'm curious now I've been on work teams in the past, and part of going on a work team a lot of times is you're kind of raising your own finances to get there, and then to cover your lodging and food while you're there. Is that going to kind of be the approach with these construction work teams as well?
That would be the same. We'll work closely with Dr. Pataxel and his team to get the best price and arrangements that we can, but it will definitely involve a per-person kind of fundraising activity to go to the Philippines and to serve in a very traditional fashion. Typically, what we're thinking is that some Filipinos who are working on these homes, we would be able to join them with our teams.
Yeah.
So we'd have shared experience and work together side by side on some of these projects in the 3 different areas that we have staging areas set up to do ministry.
This may be really premature. Any sense of what it would cost to go on one of these work teams?
It is a bit premature.
Yeah.
You know, I could take a guess that you're probably looking at something like $2,500 per person for flight plus accommodations in country, but that's a little bit of a guess on my part. Might be a little lower, might be a little higher.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, we were talking about the video from the Wesleyan Church. We've got that right now on what's going on after the typhoon.
In this place, in Tacloban City, where we are right now, at the midst of a big population within the city, whereby the effect of the typhoon is very great.
We just got onto the island, and it's probably the most overwhelming thing I've ever seen. We're seeing dead bodies on the side of the street. They're still pulling them out of the rubble. Man, I really just don't know what to say right now. We're just trying to take this in. So.
These 2 widows told us that they are in desperate situation. One widow said that her children were scattered and they were crying for them to be united again, even in a little house.
It is our desire to move on and we could rehabilitate the lives of our people.
This very point, I am envisioning that someday we'll have a ministry center, permanent ministry center, whereby the people see and feel that God is here in this place, willing to care for them. I feel that the Lord wants us to do more, not only to make relief for a short time, but we should be staying here for a long period of time to help them recover from their situation.
Some our members lost their loved ones during the typhoon, and some are still missing.
As we travel from one place to another, visiting the staging areas for relief operation, I observed that the need is becoming bigger, and the scope of work that the Lord wants us to do becoming wider.
So, Matthew, we saw this video for the first time, I don't know, about 3-4 weeks ago. You made mention it to me, and you, as a producer, you get into stuff like this. You had a great question for Wayne. Why don't you?
Yeah, so I mean, whoever did this did a fantastic job, is what I was saying. And I've said that weeks ago when we first came in contact with you. I was like, I love seeing stuff like this come out of that, because this is something that I can bring my people. This is something that, and I showed it on a Sunday morning because we talked about the Wesleyan Relief Fund and did all that, and I wanted them to be exposed to this because it's just such a good job. So as the video was playing, I was asking a little bit about who shot and produced and put that together, and Wayne, you were telling us a little bit about the Trash City Men. Is that what you said?
Close.
Okay.
The Trash Mountain Project.
Oh, not close at all. I got trash right.
Go ahead and
Trash
talk
Mountain
about
Project.
that, Wayne.
And there's a lot more to learn here, but just briefly, out of the Kansas district in a Wesleyan church there, a guy named Brett Durbin, and there's a team that he has with him. Brett started a ministry. I believe it started in Honduras and has now also, they're in the Philippines as well. But they work with children and families who end up being these dump pickers who make a living off these huge mountains of trash found in some of these countries. So they have a real presence in the Philippines doing ministry with families like this, and it's an incredible ministry all by itself. But the reason we have this video and partnership with them is that after the typhoon hit, they wanted to go over and immediately assess the impact on the families and so forth that they're involved in ministry with. And so we connected, and they were very gracious about helping to provide us some video footage that allowed us to tell the story as well about what's going on in those areas that we're setting up staging for ministry in 3 different spots in the country.
Well, that's great. I've made Tony jot that down because we need to get in contact with these guys and talk to them on the show sometime.
Wayne, it flashed up toward the end of the video, but is there a good place that people can go online to keep up with the Wesleyan Church in Philippines?
If you just go to our website, wesleyan.org, probably the easiest thing to do is just to put Philippines in the search bar. That'll pop up several articles about the Philippines and these videos as well. And for example, if you or someone watching wanted to share this video, which is off our YouTube channel, they could find the article describing it and also a link to it at that spot. There's also a donate or an emergency relief page, and that's another place where somebody could make a donation or learn a little bit more about the project.
Okay.
You keep talking about the staging areas. Could you unpack that a little bit for us?
Well, when the typhoon struck, it ripped across the middle of the country, and of course, the Philippines are hundreds and hundreds of islands. And so through the middle of the country where the typhoon hit worst and where you would have heard it on the news the most, the major city there is called Tacloban. And we do have a staging area set up in Tacloban where we serve people, initially food and water and security, and then after that starting to work with families in terms of setting them up, getting them back into homes, clearing trash out where they were on their property, helping them, find their valuables, etc. And as a neat part of that as well, I must say, Dr. Pataxel has done a great job of also holding services. And in one of his recent reports, he indicated that 29 people gave their hearts to the Lord, have a personal relationship with Christ out of this ongoing ministry, which is why I like to think of it as the gospel in word as well as deed. That's one of the staging areas, Tacloban, and then to the east in the Samar province is another one which can be reached by driving from Tacloban. It's a more rural area that doesn't get much attention in the news, and I understand that we're one of the only relief agencies in that area to help. And then finally, there's another area on Cebu Island, on the northern part of Cebu, that we have a third area that also helps not only Wesleyans, but those who are in the communities where we have Wesleyan churches, so we can reach out and help all or any that are in need.
Yeah. One of the questions, a further question I have here is, we talked about work teams earlier. Is the website, the Wesleyan.org, the best place to also kind of keep up with that? Again, if they just do a search for Philippines, is there going to be information about future work teams, or is there another website where maybe people can go and kind of monitor that and get a feel for, when availability and things of that nature and planning?
Actually, you could just go to that same section and look for Philippines, and specifically for any listeners, you can actually just get in touch with me, and I understand you're putting my name and email address up to make it available, because I will be the contact. Thanks. I'll be the contact to work with Dr. Pataxel and his team, because we'll make a connection directly from a team to the team people in the Philippines to work on logistics and arrangements so that there's a smooth communication process.
All right. One of the things I love to do when we have guests on the show is there are always questions that we will never think of. And so, before we let you go today, is there anything, we haven't raised in our questions, or anything you'd like to say about the church in the Philippines that you feel like our listeners need to know?
Well, I just want to say how impressed I am with the work that they are doing. There's over 350 Wesleyan churches in the Philippines. They are, in essence, an independent general conference, and so we relate to them as brother to brother, as family to family. So we offer them assistance and ask them what they need. I was also impressed with the many churches and individuals who donated to the Emergency Relief Fund. We have raised over $240,000, and all of that money we make available for relief purposes right to the Wesleyan church leaders there. So literally, when Dr. Pataxel calls and asks for a certain amount of money, we send it so that it's used efficiently and at the right time and in the right place. And they have just done an outstanding job, I think, of serving not only Wesleyan churches, but the communities and the people who have needs in and around our churches there.
Yeah, at our recent pastors gathering in our district, we actually played the video that our viewers just saw, and then we talked about the Emergency Relief Fund. And this is something that I think is wonderful, and that pastors and people in ministry in the Wesleyan Church really need to get behind. And again, as I understand, you just have confirmed what we've been saying and touting on this show, that 100% of what they give, and they can go right online. I when this was set up, I did it, and within 5 minutes, and I had to sign up, and create an account within 5 minutes.
Painless process. It really is.
Yeah. So can't say enough.
All the funds go there, and they direct the funds and the use of those funds for serving people and needs there. And I guess the only other thing I'd say about that is we've also been impressed this time at this particular disaster. We've been impressed by the partners who've stepped up. World Hope International contacted us and said, we have ministry in the Philippines. We'd like to ask all our donors to give through the Wesleyan Emergency Relief Fund. And so we are working with them. And another group, Church of God Anderson, sent us a check and said, we have churches that haven't been hit there, and we want to cooperate with you. So the leaders for Church of God Anderson on the ground in Manila have met with our people to see what they could do to help us in our moment of need, which is just a great example of the body of Christ.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah, good kingdom stuff.
Well, Wayne, we've been throwing up your email address. Where else can people contact you online, or if they want to get in touch with your office there at headquarters, how can people get in touch with you?
All they need to do is, if you're welcome to email or call my office. I can give you the number as well. And obviously, if you lose that or forget it, Wesleyan.org, and just look for our office communication and get in touch with me directly. I'd be glad to hear from you. But for those listening and want it, they're welcome to call me at 317-774-7338.
Very good. And now, can I get you to give me your credit card number?
Hey, let me just a quick pat on the back. Department of Communications. Man, I feel like the Department of Communications at the Wesleyan Church is becoming better than it's perhaps ever been.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of, because this is it's such an important thing.
Yeah,
and I love it.
kudos to you and your whole team there. We know that there are all kinds of people that you represent, Wayne. So great job. You guys are doing a wonderful job there.
We have a very good team of people, whether it's Wesleyan Life or putting out design or new branding look or working on videos. We just have a great group, and it's our privilege to tell us. It'd be more difficult if we didn't have great stories to tell. But God is at work doing some amazing things all around the church in North America and around the world. And so it's our privilege to put a lot of those stories out in front for people to see and read and be inspired by in turn.
Yeah, Wayne, thanks again. And listen, if in the future you want to use us as a communication voice, need to get something out, we would be more than happy to partner with you. We just believe in what you're doing. And again, for stepping in this week and helping us out, I'm gonna, if my daughter's expecting, if it's a boy, we're gonna try to get her to name him after you. So thank you.
You don't have to hold her to that, but it's been a privilege to work with you guys, and you guys do great work on communication. We're very thankful for the partnership we have with you and look forward to the chance to do it again.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
All right. Blessings on you.
Hey, thanks, Wayne.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, again, huge thanks to him.
Oh,
and Matthew, just to piggyback off what you said, we haven't just said this to Wayne. We've talked about the communications department. And what a wonderful job they're doing.
Good gracious! Have you picked up a Wesleyan Life magazine recently?
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah,
they've done some.
Yeah.
They've really made some good. They put some good people in right places and are putting together some great stuff. They're I don't know
it's
how
a
else to speak of
challenge
it.
because things change so fast in the culture,
Yeah.
and they seem to be on top of that.
Yeah. Well, they've let me put it this way, they've arrived to that point. And now they're keeping up pace in a way that I feel like, maybe not as much in the past, but good gracious, I'm just so proud of it. Like, I intentionally go to the Wesleyan Church YouTube page often just to see
what they
I want the next story. I want the next thing. And I'm not doing this just for me. I want the next thing that I can bring to my congregation. I want the next thing to bring to Golden Grove to start off the service, on Sunday morning to as kind of the attention getter to get everybody together. Yeah. I mean, have you seen like the mission statement video that Matt Leroy
That was great.
Yeah, we
great.
played it at the pastor's gathering, and then you played it at the church as well.
And I'll intentionally every so often hit that one because it's just it's like a call to arms. And they've done good putting it together. It's like, I can get behind that. I can get behind
absolutely. that. Well, listen, we started out with a word from our sponsor, and at this time, we'd like to have you watch this video from Wesley Seminary.
The MDiv program at Wesley Seminary is unique in the respect that we have spiritual formation going on throughout your entire seminary career. I've been to other seminaries. I've been a seminarian at points, and usually there's the token course in spiritual formation. But here, spiritual formation is done every regular semester. When you're taking a full load, you're also taking spiritual formation because it's such a part of who you are as a minister. It's not an auxiliary part, it's not a nod at God, it's not an add-on. It's part and parcel of who you are, and you minister from the base of who you are as a person of God. And so that's always kept at the forefront here. And so in the spiritual formation program, which is a parallel track that goes on with every course that you take during a regular semester, we constantly look at different aspects of what it means to be a person of God and a person of God in ministry. because adding that ministry dimension adds a whole different level of understanding about what it means to be connected to God. So spiritual formation in seminary is one of the ways that we keep ministers and Christian leaders connected to God as they are learning, so that the learning is always done mindful of how it affects the people of God, how it affects one's walk with God, how it empowers you to do ministry for God. God is always at the center of it. So when we are teaching and mentoring in spiritual formation, those are the things that we keep at the forefront.
All righty. Well, now it is time for
Download of the week. Dude, we had time to prepare for that one. We were trying to set that up. That's the best we've ever done that. Wow.
All right.
I can't believe it.
So our download of the week is Paper. This is an app that Facebook has just put out. I downloaded it last night and put it into our show notes, and I have fooled with it just a little bit. Now Heath's over here.
I'm on it, and I've okay, now I figured
and
it out.
Heath is lost. So it has with it your Facebook. You can get your Facebook feed through there, but then also a lot like Flipboard. It's got these curated news,
Story.
sports, cooking.
The only couple of issues, like just now, I had clicked on a story and couldn't figure out how to get out of it. I was clicking on every, so
Listen,
but it's a lot prettier than the regular Facebook app.
Yeah, it's not as cluttered, and the first time you install it, it will run you through a tutorial, which I thought was very helpful. If you will pay attention to the tutorial, Heath, I think that
I did, but and I'm pretty sure so far I haven't received any game requests through Paper, so I may be making the switch.
So my only question is, why are we not showing this on the screen? So I'm working to make something happen here.
Well, because we were, let me say to our viewers and listeners, we have new equipment in the office, so we're setting that up.
And we had it. You saw our boo-boo a little bit ago. We had a crash. Anyways.
The bummer about this is it's only a iPhone app, not the iPad, no Android stuff. I think my theory on this is that Facebook is throwing this out. If it catches on, if it's successful, then I think you'll see further development with it.
So I had all right.
All right.
I had an Android moment this week.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a good moment.
Okay.
So I'm putting together to get my people resources for the 40-day Bible stuff. And the Android OS does not know what to do with an ebook. If you just directly download a ebook file or a .mobi, it doesn't. It amends it with a .txt, and it opens it up as just gobbledygook. It's like Chinese characters and all kinds of craziness. Whereas on your iOS device, if you were to download, like you go to the site and you just click it, it says, "Hey, you want to open this in the Kindle app? Hey, you want to open this in iBooks?"
Yeah.
It was very interesting that just no
Kindle
good.
doesn't know what to do with it. Well, again, the Paper app is iOS 7 only, iPhone, not even the iPad or anything like that.
So let me take a moment and ask you this question. So why do you think they're putting out two apps? They essentially do the same thing. Totally different interface. Yeah. So what do you...
So now let me talk big picture. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Big picture.
Big picture.
That back in the 80s, the war was for the desktop, and Microsoft won.
Right.
Right now, the war is for the cloud, and the iPhone, and really Apple and Google have been duking it out. This is where the battle's being waged. Facebook is kind of in between all of this, but if you look at this app, this is more than just your feed. Now they're bringing in news, and so this is the battle for the cloud. And Facebook, instead of you going to your ESPN app, your USA Today app, what they'd like for you to do is just open up their app. And then now you go to your news, you go to your social media, you go to...
So let's open a story in Paper. You ready?
Yes.
Here, my friend Anthony R. Casey posted this story. Well, there you go.
There it is.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Well, that's... Very good. Okay. Today we
I'm
talked
going to
to
be
Wayne
there.
MacBeth.
Yeah, but you can so swipe down on that. Oh, well, okay.
Hold on here.
All right, I'm
Hold
getting
on.
dizzy.
Swipe down.
Slow down. Slow down.
If
Share your own story. Swipe down on the
Come-
cover. Whoa.
so now,
So swipe down from the top. Yep,
Okay.
and you can post.
and also,
Up.
low battery,
Low battery.
low battery. So you can, say what you're doing. Looking for Heath Mulligan.
Uh-oh, be careful. Hey, have you seen
There'll be something about wrestling. If
Have you
if
seen
tap
the
into
new
this.
Facebook? If you go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you go to facebook.com/lookback, they have created a 1-minute video of your Facebook highlights since you joined in honor of their 10-year anniversary. Mine was pretty good.
Wow.
Did you hear the news, Heath? I started. Hey, yeah, that's right.
A wrestling podcast.
I am starting a wrestling podcast with my friend Mark Whitman.
It's
who's
video
a former-
only.
No, it's audio only. Yeah.
What would that be?
What?
What would a video only podcast?
No words.
No words.
Just me kidding. It's just him putting various moves on me. I mean, I've shown I can take it. Right here, I've shown I can take the best moves. So.
Oh my. Okay.
All righty. Well, check it out. Let us know what you think about it. It's rather curious at this point. And again, I think that this is kind of a beta thing for them. If it catches on, they'll expand it to all the iOS 7 devices and Android as well. And Windows probably not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Windows never gets anything.
All right. Time for They Said It.
Read my lips.
I'm going to say this again.
I've never taken steroids or HGH.
I took the initiative in creating the internet.
The Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard.
I'm not a crook.
If you know what you're doing here, slide out.
Evangelicalism, both on the individual and institutional level, is trying hard to purge itself of a polished veneer that smacked of hypocrisy. But by focusing on brokenness as proof of our realness and authenticity, have evangelicals turned being screwed up into a badge of honor, its own sort of works righteousness? Has authenticity become a higher calling than, say, holiness? Brett McCracken, a film critic for Christianity Today and author of the recently released Gray Matters, Navigating the Space Between Legalism and Liberty. Source, the Gospel Coalition.
To usher in a, quote, gender equality, end quote, movement that misrepresents a traditional biblical understanding of human sexuality, liberal elites must first break down the authority of Scripture. A dangerous mission. These efforts threaten to strip women of their dignity, integrity, uniqueness, and the special responsibilities entrusted to them by God. Chelson Vicari, Evangelical Program Director for the Institute on Religion and Democracy. Source, Juicy Ecumenism.
With the Chromecast, we're resetting consumer applications. People should expect their phones or tablet applications to just work on television. Risha Khandra, Chromecast Director of Product Management after Google released the Google Cast Software Development Kit yesterday. Source, CNET.
Mr. Hoffman's gifts were widely celebrated while he was alive, but the shock of his death on Sunday revealed too soon and too late the astonishing scale of his greatness and the solidity of his achievement. We did not lose just a very good actor. We may have lost the best one we had. He was only 46, and his death, apparently from a drug overdose, foreshortened a career that was already monumental. Movie critic A.O. Scott, as he talked about Philip Seymour Hoffman roles and what he thinks defines the actor's legacy. Source, The New York Times. All right, so going right to the top here, this McCracken article,
Really good.
Awesome article. And there are times you read an article and the bell kind of goes off and you say, ding, 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 ding. I think they're on to something here. And he's right. In the quote that we grabbed for the show, he's absolutely right in terms of, it tried to purge itself of a polished veneer that smacked of hypocrisy.
Right.
And you could see that. And so, there's this public persona that I live, but it denies maybe some reality, some struggles that are going on in my own personal life. And I dare not share that with anyone.
Right.
and we needed a corrective. But I think,
yeah, I think it's very for me as a pastor and a preacher who's preaching every Sunday. It is this very fine line of letting people know, hey, I'm human, okay? I struggle. I fail to capture every thought like I should. I fail to have the right attitude. I fail to do the things I know I'm supposed to do daily. To be honest in that without lowering the bar of saying, well, I mess up every day and you will too. And so we're all messed up. And so I love that quote, but a very challenging article, especially for myself as a Wesleyan, part of a holiness denomination. We can never forget what our goal is, and our goal is Christ.
Well, even this whole thing of discipleship. So I had a conversation with a guy, professor, last week or 2 weeks ago on the phone, and why did Christ come? What does he intend to do in us? And the intention is to make us disciples. What does that mean? It means to have the image of Christ stamped upon us, within us, the renewing of our mind, that at the end of the day, God isn't just interested in giving us fire insurance.
Right.
He's interested in transformed lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes authenticity is so put up on a pedestal. And what he's saying here is it becomes a badge where, hey, I messed up, and somehow there's something good about that. Didn't Christ come for messed up people? Didn't he come to redeem us and to restore us to some kind of a creational reality?
Yeah. There was this, and maybe it's still going on, but there was this period where pastors would use, crude language, like even here, being screwed up, which I think is good within the context of this article, but a lot of pastors from the pulpit will say certain words, curse words or things like that to kind of get people's attention, and it's cool, And,
curse words.
I've been to one of Heath's sermons.
I'm on a 7-second delay. Anyway, but even in a lot of Christian books, they'll use to say we're real because I use the same language that you do. I don't know, man. It's just
all right. Pendulum.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
It's a pendulum, and we can swing one way and then back the other way, and we're all over the place on this. Last night, I got to have a great experience. I got to sit down in a Celebrate Recovery group.
Yeah.
And these guys, what are they doing? They are saying, the first statement is, I am broken and I cannot fix myself.
Yeah.
That is the very first thing, and like that's they're and it's important.
Yeah.
Like it's important for them it's important for all of us.
Right.
To remember that. So it can.
Yeah, when you say pendulum, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think McCracken in his article says there was a time when the pendulum was over here.
Over there, right.
Yeah. And what he's questioning is, are we getting over here on the other side of the pendulum? And I think that he raises a great point. And so you talk about a preacher that will curse in a sermon or things of this nature. And when you ask them why they do it, the answer that I get is this: because I can. Well, I don't think that that's always good rationale. Just because you can, it ignores the other question: ought you to do it?
Oh yeah. And that's a totally another story. And if that's, I just don't want to misconstrue the article one way or the other, because people can. The culture of Christianity can swing all kinds of different directions, and this is. It's not a good thing. There is a great middle ground here. Yeah. And I want to follow up the Celebrate Recovery stuff, because that's the first statement. But by the end, what you've said is, I can't fix myself, but
God can.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ is the one who can. And I need to get to that point. Right. I mean, so it's this whole thing working us through that. So there's a very
McCracken's concern is that is the goal for us still holiness?
Yeah.
If it is, maybe we shouldn't be so proud of our being messed up. That Christ has come to redeem and to restore.
Yeah.
And that we're in process. All right, this next article here, Heath. First, kudos to you but you fed me some great stories over the last couple weeks here. This was another one. And
a lot of challenging stories.
Liberal evangelicals are waging a war on women, and no one is noticing. This is by Vicari.
And this comes from, it was a conference that she went to talking about women's roles. And she took issue with what one of the speakers said.
Well, Rachel Held Evans,
one of the former guests on our show.
We've had as a guest on the show.
And I really do. I like some of Chelsen's points in the article that we in this talking about gender equality, that we don't get away from men and women are different. And newsflash, men and women are different.
You heard it here
right
first.
Here.
Heath Mulligan said it.
Would you say that men are from Mars and women perhaps?
but again,
the obliteration of gender, I think. I mean, I don't want to put words in Vicari's mouth here, but I mean that's part of it. Also, as I understand it, what she's saying is that she disagrees with this idea that while you can point to abuses coming from Scripture, that does not then mean that it's a scorched earth policy that the Bible tells us nothing about.
Right.
In this particular case, womanhood.
And I think, again, just as we talked in that first story, it's about finding that balance where we celebrate the uniqueness of men and the uniqueness of women, and also celebrate the fact that, there is no Jew or Greek, male or female, that in that we're all called to be a priesthood of believers. And,
One article that I didn't put in the show notes, but you had sent to me, was Rachel Held Evans has a blog, The Bible Was Clear, ...
Right.
And she goes through different ages of the church where the church was clear. This is what the Bible says. And as you read it, you say, oh, that's outrageous. We don't believe that now. Yes, the church believed it then, but we don't believe it now.
Right.
And I think that, I've read Rachel's books, and there are times when she says stuff and you say, yep, that makes sense to me. And I think that she points out these extremes, and rightfully so. My response to that is, while they're extremes, there are always others that are trying to balance it, though. So I don't think it's the end of the story.
My follow-up to that, I've read that same article, and it is, you go think like, yeah, that was crazy, but it's 100% of Christians didn't believe that.
Right. Yeah, I read,
and the majority may have been very wrong, but that doesn't mean that there were not people who were standing up for what was right in those times.
Yeah, I read the book. You've heard me talk about Divided by Faith. In the beginning of that book, they talk about the evangelicalism in America during the time of Whitefield. And you had Whitefield, who believed about slavery, that it was okay, that slaves needed to have the gospel preached to them, that slaves brought to America were probably in a better place because they were able to have the gospel preached to them, and you needed to treat your slave well, but a good beating once in a while might tender them up for the gospel.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. You read that and you think, oh, wow, evangelicalism, that's awful. But there was also another guy in the same club of Whitefield. His name was John Wesley.
Yeah.
And John Wesley's saying, no.
Yeah.
Slavery's wrong. Every person is made in the image of God. They have worth. This is an atrocity, and it needs to be against the law.
Hey, and that whole thing about like preaching and that a good beating, like 12 years a slave, that they portray that very, very well in that movie,
which is a tragedy.
We're like, every Sunday we sit everybody down and we read about how you should be submissive to us. It's
when I saw the Wilberforce movie, I called Dr. Bob Black, probably the best historian in the Wesleyan Church, and about our history is what I mean, and I told him that the whole time I was wishing that somehow in the movie you would see Wilberforce reading his letter from John Wesley, because it is widely believed among Wesley scholars that the very last letter he ever wrote before he died was to Wilberforce saying, keep up the good fight, and as soon as you're done here, we're going to turn our attention to America and the slavery that's there. So there are always these extremes. I think that, and here's another thing. I mean, Chelsen Vicari represents women who are saying, we don't feel victimized.
Right.
We feel like that there is a biblical standard for women. There is
Yeah.
a biblical understanding.
Yeah.
And so as these two kind of go back and forth, I mean, I think it's a great art. It's a great conversation to be involved in.
Maybe I could have them on my wrestling podcast.
That's outrageous. Yeah.
Hey, all right. So we talked about Chromecast. Let me ask: if you guys use Chromecast,
Yep, I have one.
You have one. All right. So here's my. Do you have one, TG? Okay. Now, TG, you and I both have Apple TV. So I would be interested, Tony, to see how it compares with.
Well, he could give it better because I don't have an Apple TV. He's used both. So
Yeah. That's a good question. I'll be interested to see what happens now that there's a dev kit for people to build out for it. Because right now, Chromecast, essentially, if you have a Netflix app, you can watch Netflix. You can watch stuff off YouTube using your Chromecast, and you can share a web page out of the Chrome browser. I mean,
yeah, sharing a web page, though, that's not optimal. I mean, I've done that. I don't. I mean, I have flipped things over from a web page to watch on TV. It's okay, but where it's developed for, it's way better. So Pandora, Netflix, YouTube, because you have a little tab, you just hit it and say, hey, throw it over to the TV.
Let me put it this way: an Apple TV is an integral part of something that we do every Sunday morning.
Right.
And there's no way I could do it with
a Chromecast,
with anything else.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, it provides a level of awesome that there's just isn't anything else.
This is the thing. For Apple, it's kind of love-hate. I mean, I've got Apple products, and there are times I get frustrated with the ecosystem because that's what they have.
Yeah.
But when you have all these devices and they're talking to each other, you see the power of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, and Google's trying to, carve out a space here. This goes back to this whole thing. The battle right now is for the cloud.
Yeah.
That's where the battleground is.
Yeah.
And
totally agree.
Yeah. And who's going to own that? And the content. And the future battle is the content that is in the cloud. How are we going to manage increasingly? How are we going to manage the content?
I think that is an interesting statement and somewhat of a foolish statement.
Well, take me on.
Okay, because the cloud is wonderful to talk about, but you have to put something in somebody's hands or in front of them for them to get access to that.
No, but see, this is not about. So tablets, I would say, are not what computers are. Tablet is about cloud management. It's about information in the cloud and accessing it this way. What we realize is I don't need a desktop anymore. Most people, my wife doesn't need a desktop. My mother-in-law doesn't need a desktop. You know why? Because she lives in the cloud.
Yeah.
They don't live on devices.
Right, but
hold on. You couldn't survive in the cloud.
Yeah, you can't say they don't live on devices.
Yeah. They don't live on the computer as a device
and
for producing content.
I'm talking about.
They need a device that manages their cloud services.
And they need it where? In their hands.
Right.
Be it a tablet, be it a phone, whatever it is,
right.
They need it in their hands.
Could you produce this show on a tablet?
That's not what I'm talking about.
He's saying that it doesn't matter how the cloud is. You still got to have something physical.
It's just about that the battle's just for the cloud because somebody's got to put something in your hands so that you can get to that.
Yeah.
And it's
about creating a device that can get to it. This is why Windows is trying, they're throwing out stuff. They realize, wait a minute here, that our only future is in services if we can't get hardware in people's hands that manages the cloud. So yeah, I will concede that there's a hardware dimension to it.
Right.
But the battle is for the cloud.
It's how to get people to the cloud.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Apple's done a great job.
So let me take this a different way. Maybe this is your proof text for your argument because it may be. Netflix does not put out a device. They don't make anything. What do? They get every opportunity they can to build software for other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, every smart TV.
Right.
If it's the worst interface ever, and I've seen some bad ones.
Yeah.
If the TV can connect to the internet, Netflix will come and they will say, "We want to build software for your pitiful TV experience." So people can access this stuff. So there are companies that model themselves on that, but I don't think it's time for us to say that that's the priority of the big companies yet.
Okay.
They're trying to integrate both of those things together.
Right.
Amazon is one where they've evolved, and I know we can't talk about evolution, we're Christians, but they were they were a website with videos and stuff, and now they've said, hey, hardware, we've got hardware, and here's hardware that integrates with our cloud stuff. But
I may have talked too broadly here. There is clearly a hardware dimension to that. I mean,
can
see
Dropbox,
that.
I guess, would be your other person who you'd think about.
How about
all they want is software.
That the cloud is driving hardware. You don't think so?
I don't know. I don't know.
This goes
So
back
here's
to
why.
O'Malley.
Here's why I don't know why. Let me give you the proof text why. Everybody moaned and they complained about Apple Maps. A recent report came out that said that iPhone users, the huge majority, what are they using now? 6 months, 12 months removed from the, Apple Maps are so horrible. What are the majority using? Apple Maps. Because they're tied together. This is a cloud service tied to their hardware, and they want to win that.
Right.
So
I agree.
So
totally. I don't think we're arguing against each other.
So
I think it's a great example of what I'm saying.
So Chromecast, $35 versus Apple TV has historically been about $99.
I think you can get one on Amazon for like $25. I think you can get about $10 off if you have a .edu account.
So do you think that price point?
It's a great price point.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
it's an impulse.
But from what you're telling
price.
me, it doesn't do a lot of the things that I thought it would do.
Not now. The reason this is a story is because the development kit.
You're talking about a $35 USB drive, is what you're talking about. I'm just kidding.
I want to see somebody. I want to see the big Chromecast fan who's like, let me show you what this thing can do.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And I've yet to see that.
Yeah,
now, maybe this will happen as a result of this software developers.
Yeah, that's why
I hope so.
Yeah, that's
I hope
why
we get to a point where somebody says, you got to see this because this is cool. And no, like, I'm all about, like, I'll bring anybody who wants to see how I run stuff on Sunday morning in our sanctuary. Yeah. It's cool. I want you to see how awesome it is that I could do what I do in there.
It's a great integration.
Pumped about it. But I've yet to have that person there.
All right, we've got to move on.
Yes.
Time's getting away.
Yes.
Won't talk about the Hoffman story here.
Right.
Other than to say this, that USA Today, I think, I didn't have time to put it in our show notes. I can do it after here, but I think that they are at the heart of this story, and that is the use of heroin. And it is believed that's what he died from, a heroin overdose. Yeah. And as we have worked in our culture to curb OxyContin use, proportionally heroin use has gone up. So as you regulate more the legal drug, the illegal drug is expanding, and the Monteith story flows right into this. He had heroin use as well. And I think that you have to take, I mean, his death is tragic. It's tragic any way that you slice it, but you have to take these things and now create a platform where you talk about the problem.
Yeah. Philip, he was the kind of actor. He was never the leading man, but if I knew he was in a movie, that made me a lot more interested. Even second or third on the thing.
My son-in-law said,
That's a good way to put it. Like I remember, I don't know. I don't know much of his early stuff. I remember the first time when I was like, ooh, who is this guy? This is good.
Yeah.
It's actually the Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
Where he was the villain.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this guy. Who is this guy?
One of the articles that I saw talked about how even in bad movies, he was great.
He was the shining star.
Yeah, like that Mission Impossible movie I think it was Mission Impossible 3, made a lot of money. Was not a good movie, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, he shined in it.
Well, his death is tragic. I mean, it's a shame. And my son-in-law, who is way into movies more than I am, he was really saddened by his death. He thought it was tragic.
Complete shock.
But I'm just saying that let's not ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Some reports are saying that he was found with a needle in his arm.
Yeah, 50 bags of heroin in his apartment. And
yes,
I saw this, Ephraim Smith put this on Facebook, and he said, a Hollywood person dies of a heroin overdose and they're sick. A street person dies of a heroin overdose and they're a criminal.
Or an addict.
Yeah. And I thought that was a very interesting take on it.
All right, here. Let's talk a little bit about our affiliate link here. Heath.
So, yes, you've been hearing about it. If you go to the technologyshow.com/shop or techology/shop, you can help us. All you have to do is just buy something. And Zach Burnham, who won a gift this week, that we'll be buying through this Amazon link. Zach, if you use Google Chrome, you can go in there, the Technology Show extension, and it makes just one click.
Yeah.
And
I mean, essentially, you buy your toilet paper at Amazon, we get a cut of that.
Now,
we reap the benefits.
Now, this week,
you can literally flush money down the toilet, and we will benefit.
And we always do a purchase of the week. And this week, there were no purchases. No.
Oh, man.
Come on, Priscilla.
No, come on.
What are you sitting around for? Buy something on Amazon, Priscilla. We need your money.
Zach, you made it possible for people to link. Come on.
Yeah. So anyway, hey,
now
and
it's
again,
time to step up to the next level, Zach.
That's right.
You've done us this great service.
Again, and again, you know, we joke about it, but so many of you have supported us through that, and we cannot tell you enough. Like, we don't see in the Amazon report who buys what. But if we could, we'd send you a thank you note.
All right. Listen, also, there are other ways to support the show. One is through sponsorship. We believe that if you're looking for an effective way to get word out about your organization, we can help. We can help your business, your nonprofit. Why not consider sponsoring an episode of the Techology Show? As we have said always, that your sponsorship will live on for years to come. And just encourage you to go to the techologyshow.com/sponsor to check that out.
And speaking of that, thanks to our sponsor for this week,
Yes,
Wesley Seminary. Great group of people over there, and some great stuff that they're doing.
Wait, turn it back to me here because I'm going to do this whole thing here. Okay, so right there, our sponsor for the week.
And that'll stay. I mean, anybody that watches this episode will see your brand.
Awesome. All right.
Hey, make a great Valentine's Day gift for your loved one, for your wife. If you want to,
keep going, Matthew.
I know we're way overboard, but let me share a South Carolina thing. Here in the upstate, for some reason, people think it's cool to put lettered signs out on the road. You know what I'm talking about? Where you put up the letters.
Portable signs.
This is a phenomenon I have not seen anywhere else.
Well, we're ahead of the curve here.
Yeah. I asked somebody that, like somebody who came down, from different areas of the country. I'll ask them, do you see that? You drive the back roads here, and people they'll buy it, and then they'll put up, you can rent this sign. And so what they rent it for is people put birthday messages up there on these lettered signs, all kinds of little things like that. So. Hey,
this is your
same
sign.
deal.
This
we can be
right
your upstate, right down there in the corner. If you want to tell your wife how much you love her, that could be you right there.
It'd be awesome. It would be awesome. Send us a picture. We'll put their bill picture there. All right, listen. Next week, we're going to have Heather Zempel with us. She is in charge of small group ministry at Community Church in Washington, D.C., and we're going to talk about her book, Community is Messy. And then on February 18th, Dr. John Oswalt will be with us. He is the author of The Bible Among the Myths. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. Yeah. If you want to do further research on anything we discussed today, you can find all the links to the stories we covered at our website, thetechologyshow.com. If you want to contact us, we encourage you to send your emails to thetechologyshow@gmail.com, or better yet, why don't you pick up the phone, call us 3049 Theology, leave us a message. We may even play your comments on the air. As always, thank you for tapping into the cloud to be with us this week. Goodbye, everybody.
What? Your head is in the clouds.
Goodbye.